Everybody at the Astroflower, this is going to be the 2026 general reading for the general people, for everybody. So you will have the individual sign reading coming out on the Mondays and Tuesdays. There'll be two each day over the next sort of 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Yes, next 3 weeks. Okay. So yes, this is all about the 2026. Let's just get into this. Um, First things first, should really look at, because obviously to understand what we're going to be doing in 2026, or what is the possibilities more than anything else in 2026, we've got to understand the environment a little bit. And looking at the solar cycle and what's happening on the solar cycle, I think this is the year where we come out of high cycle, really come out of it. We're already on the descent now, so we're changing over from solar flares through to coronal holes, and that's going to change the vibration enormously. And it will make the sun a little bit more sort of grounded, a little bit less sort of volatile in certain aspects of its function. And it's much more about sort of like, because it's grounded, it's about getting things done or bringing things to the surface in a very physical way. And I think that's what's going to be happening over the next year. I still think there's going to be a lot of emotions that come out over this year here. And as we've seen with the messages from energy and the way things have been gradually changing, or how the energy is gradually orchestrating itself and everybody else, of course, that's connected to it, and everything that is connected to it. We've seen this sort of like a personalization of the emotions according to what you're doing as individuals, as what we're doing as individuals, and how then that sort of like connects and goes together within the collective. And when I say collective, I don't just mean human. There's every sort of aspect you need to take into consideration, such as plants, animals, and so forth, planets, solar systems. The whole thing's consciousness. So, the sun is very conscious. The earth is very conscious. And, I've always said with the earth, she knows exactly what she's doing. Us humans, we pretend to, we're in this illusion that we know how to, you know, physically sort of manage a planet. Just the ego trip of that is just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I think the planet knows exactly what she's doing. And because it's not, maybe not to our liking, then, well, maybe we need to get back in line with a lot of things. So, you know, I, there's, as regards to the sort of planet and the solar system, we are going into a pole shift. It's a rhythmical sort of thing, and it's understanding that environment that is around you energetically. Once you start feeling it and understanding it, then obviously you're going to realize what is possible. So if you do not have any water, you cannot grow that seed. It's just the way it goes. So if you look around in your environment, if you don't have any water, don't start planting seeds all over the places. You know, I would I would go to a place where you have all the elements in place. And that's what we've got to really understand, I think. And I think we've got to understand our place as well within the whole big scheme of things, and stop thinking, looking at our own sort of belly button, thinking we're the center of the universe. Because, it's not true. Consciousness doesn't really work like that. Energy certainly doesn't work like that. We've got to get our heads around that. So we're moving into very much more, I think, in this coming year, it's going to be how the emotions are projected into the physical world. And I think there's multitudes of reasons for that. Okay. So let's just connect to the energy now. I've finished my rant. You know, let's connect to energy now. Let's get several readings from it, and then we're going to pull a load of cards on it. and see what happens. Okay, so let's just connect to that energy now. We're sat on this energy line that comes across here. I'm sat right in the middle of it. Absolutely beautiful energies. Okay, we've got the morphic field. We can now see the energy, which sort of everything has dropped, finding that neutral point, that point 0. I want to say it's crimson. It's not red. It's not quite pink. It's crimson. Is that a right colour? It feels that sort of way. It's a very empoweringly loving energy that seems to be going through here. Can you show me any sort of spikes or changes within 2026 according just to the vibration, basically, more than anything else? Okay, there seems to be voids of energy. And this could have, is that all to do with pole shift? Yeah. Okay, so there is moments, there's months in the year, or several weeks within the year where the magnetic field goes in certain places around the globe, and we've seen this on the messages from energy for a long time now, of these bubbles of non-directional magnetic fields. So you lose the sense of north and south. It's moving about so much that a compass would find it difficult to sort of like orientate it. And these are very, very subtle energies. I don't think you're going to pick it up necessarily on a compass as such, because the North Pole is still very, very strong, or the flow of energy is still in one sort of direction, as it were. But it seems to be voids of energy here. Let's just find out. Let's just put our fingers into that void of energy there and find out what's going on here. Okay, it's almost as if like someone's just put pause on the film that we're in, and every character can still kind of go, well, what? Everything stopped. What's going on? And there's this void between what was and what is going to be. And it's a moment of realization, and it's over weeks. So it's not like a day you could turn around and sort of say, it's this day here, Let me just see if we can get a timeline on that. So it's around about May. Next year seems to be quite a big one. There is another smaller one, but it's in sort of like January, February, but very short term. But the one in April, May is reasonably long, and the one in it seems to be October, November as well. It seems to be a really big void there as well. And that's a different type of void. I think it's because we would have understood a moment of void where we were sort of kind of caught unawares, as it were. But because we've gone through that, the second time it happens, we sort of like get a sense of how it works. And there seems to be a lot more activity. Seems to be a lot more people. It's almost as if like you can time travel within that sort of space. In other words, you can do a lot of things in those voids that creates enormous leaps forwards in things. And I think we are going to get huge leap forward in things that's coming up. Let's have a look at I want to have a look at the technology. Can we have a look at that? Let's have a look at the energy and the technology and see what's going on, because I think that's going to play an important role in 2026. So just connecting to that energy, find that point 0. Obviously, I think we're going to get massive AI evolution here. I think AI is going to become um, have an important role to play within the human existence. And there's people for, there's people contra, against it, and that divide seems to be opening up a lot more between within the humans. So it's divide and rule. So it's being used as a political tool almost against humans' unification, as it were. And you're always going to get sort of polarized views of a situation, and I understand that, but that shouldn't impose a non engagement. We still have to do things with it. We still have to sort of like, even if you don't agree with something about it, you've got to understand that it's going to be part of your life, and with whether you like it or not. And and if you're going to resist to it, at least be vocal about it, and be, and maybe even try and create something outside of it, an alternative to AI. And if you can do that, then that's contributing to a creative society, rather than just blocking something. I'm not a big fan of that. I think it's much better to sort of, even if you don't agree with something, for allow it to go to its full fruition. So then we can understand it, and we can see that there's a limit to everything, and rather than putting all our eggs in one basket. And that AI, so let me just get a little bit more information. It seems like that people give themselves over to AI. So they give over a certain part of organisation of their lives to AI, which I think we've done already in a lot of aspects without even knowing it. Just being on your telephone is part of it, accepting that it is part of it. And I think this could well be in this void in April and May. There seems to be like a moment where the logic of AI, because AI is based upon logic, the logic of AI outweighs the emotion of the human. And I think this also helps, it does help the human to realize, kind of going, okay, well, I have to have an emotional engagement with life in a sincere way, rather than just allowing my emotions to explode all over the place, which obviously that just creates confusion and usually disinformation and so forth. And I think this is where AI will come in and play a role, almost like a third party that's an advisor to how human beings exist. And I think this then brings us to a point of understanding that energy is the thing that's driving everything. If you turn off the electricity, I'm not saying AI will no longer exist, because it will exist, but in a frozen state. But humans will still keep eating fruit, breathing air, and all of that. That's why I think there's a understanding here that's coming through that's far greater than AI. And AI is just like a stone that a stepping stone to get across the river, as it were. And we have to leave that stepping stone in the river. Can't take it with us, because it's created a new understanding. But it comes down to logical governance. That's what it seems to be. That this void here of orientation will, if you had no restrictions upon yourself or anything, you are going to get amazing ideas and amazing things that come to the surface. Agreed. But you're also going to get amazingly wrong things that are going to come to the surface. This is what I mean about you can't stop anything. to see what is right, we need to also see what is wrong. And you can't, and I'm not going to sit in judgment of someone who's, who's done, who has wrong interpretations or wrong in spirit and so forth, because without them we wouldn't know what is right. So, I'm not going to celebrate them either, of course, but I think it's a different way. I don't, at no point should we ever be scared to express ourselves and explore ideas. But at some point, we do need to have that common sense recognition, kind of go, no, it's a dead end road. And that's part of the game of life and evolution. If we really want to take our place in these, in the universe, along with everything else, we need to sort of, straighten up and fly right, basically. And this is all part of the pole shift as well. So let's have a look and see. Let's see how it looks politically. So geopolitically within that void there. Imagine if you turned off the internet. How are politicians going to get to you? And I feel that with this lack of direction here, you get a lot of politicians that are trying to scream louder and saying me, over here, me, sort of thing. And I don't think it's just politicians. I think it's across the board. And you get a lot of other people that are just kind of going, I'm just getting on, doing my thing. And then before you know it, you look up and these frantic people want to get involved in what you're doing because they're no longer being fed by society. And I think there's a real humbling factor going on here within geopolitical world. I think we will see the end of all wars. We have that great possibility to see the end of all conflict in that sort of sense. We will also see what things are erroneous and what things have been done to coerce the human species into doing things that they wouldn't normally do. When you've got common sense, it becomes pretty obvious what we're going to do. And yeah, you can manipulate that, and a lot of people do. You just have to look on YouTube, man. There's loads of manipulation on there. But, as I said, this is a good thing because we're understanding the erroneous ideas and the good ideas. And I think within the political world here, it's not just about this party or that party, or this person and that person. I think there's a realization that comes through. Let me just sort of collect that, get back into that point there, because I want a clarification on that. We get back into a situation where the power is returned in a way back to the collective people. And this is where AI can possibly help it as well, where we reassess and there seems to be like a re-evaluation of governance, of how we physically govern ourselves. Because that's what a political situation is supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be contributing to our own governance. And I think people are getting a lot of detachment from all of that, which is a shame, obviously, because, humans are capable of absolutely amazingly beautiful things if we just play nicely together, And unfortunately, with the political world, it's become so polarized that, and that's possibly to do with the pole shift and everything like that. It's become so polarized that no one can find, there's no connection really between the political system and the general public. It's a very much them and us sort of scenario. And I'm not blaming anybody for this. I just think it's a natural progression. Like we had royal families for hundreds of years, and then then the republic countries started happening, and then we got rid of political systems, royal systems, and then we've moved on to political systems. But each time, and this is the diminishing factor of things, it lives like a half-life. So we had like 800 years of royalty, and we've had 400 years of political system. And I think it's time to move on to another system, which will be even shorter lived, till we get to a point when we kind of everybody understands. And maybe we can help that accelerate that sort of thing. Okay? So I think in the geopolitical thing, I think I think we're going to have huge transformations within our governance systems. And I think that's tied into AI. And I think that comes to a fore, really comes concrete in everyday life, where people are really sort of like contributing to its creation in the October-November situation that we were talking about. Let's just have a look at the Earth, Mother Nature. And so okay, so if you've seen any of the messages from energy, you know what I do every week. I do that more than, even when I'm not doing the videos, I'm still going down, sort of say hello and stuff like that. And it's a question of timing. And I've done a thing on Cymatic TV about this as well. It's a question of timing. Sometimes the rhythms all come together and create a node of reality. And in that node of reality, everything fits. But it doesn't last. And then it all gets messed up and confused and very Jackson Pollock. And it goes, and then it presents another reality, which is similar to the one before, but it's slightly different. So and the more steps we do, the more that reality starts taking more and more space. Till eventually we have a lot more sort of, this is over years, a lot more of that where everything fits, and the confusion bit becomes the little nodes of reality that no longer really exist in our lives. And then eventually that will invert in the future, where the confusion will come back and be a lot more confusion with little nodes of reality that sort of comes together. And that takes over a long period of time. And that's all about sort of like pole shift. So that nodes of reality have been, since the last 12,000 years, basically. This has been, we've had a change in nodes of reality. And we're now into that change here, where the things that fit are actually going to become more and more obvious and taking up more and more space than the bits of confusion. And if people are spouting disinformation or confusion, they will become less and less significant because people will no longer be listening to them. And that's across the board. Business, politics, YouTube, religion, whatever. It's going to become a lot, and this is the start of it. I almost want to call the year logical, emotional logical progression. An ELP. Yes, emotional logical progression, I think. And it's going to put a lot of context in those sort of things. So I think with the Earth, I think we're going to get moments where it kind of goes, oh, this is it, but no, it's not. Oh, this is it. Oh, but no, it's not. And we see this a lot of time across YouTube. You can see lots of videos and kind of going, the Great Awakening is this date here. Well, the Great Awakening is this date here. Everyone's got a date. You know what I mean? And they're all over the place. It's like, do you remember 2012? Do you remember all of that BS? I was doing conferences from 2009, 2010 saying to people, look, this 2012 thing is a load of baloney. A load of baloney. There is aspects of 2012 which were, reasonably very important as well, energetically, but did not manifest like most people said it was going to. Graham Hancock. There's loads of people who cashed in on the cash cow of 2012, and we see that now as well. This is 15 years later, so just look around you, you'll see a lot of cash cows. So I think with the Earth itself, I think we're going to see moments of extreme geological events, so extreme volcanoes, extreme earthquakes, extreme hurricanes, but not in volume. This is where we're coming down to more sort of concentration more than anything else. Okay. I do think up by the Alaskan Ridge, where you go from Alaska to Russia, that's where there seems to be the volcanoes. You've got other ones that are more sort of like towards the Philippines and towards India direction of that group of islands. On that section there, it seems to be around there. I get the feeling that Hawaii is going to. It seems like it's either thinning out as an island, or it's thinning out because there's less eruptions. That's what I'm getting here. I'm getting this. There's a shift that's moving from Hawaii into that sort of like. Sort of between Australia and Japan sort of region, over there, and it feels like that's like the center, the ring of fire, as we call it in the Pacific, is going to be really focalized upon there more than anything else. And there seems to be an event that's going to make a lot of people move away from a place. Okay, let me just check out what's going on in Europe, because we also have this going on in Italy and in Greece. Let's just see what's going on in that section there. There is activity and there is movement, but I think because of the release events that I think we'll get over in Indonesia and in that sort of section of the world, and up in sort of around Japan and so forth, up north of Japan into Russia and stuff like that, I think that's going to take a little bit of pressure off of that side as well. And yeah, we will get some quite reasonably big earthquakes, even up in the 7 to 8 range. With ease, I think, within that section there. A particular one that's a 7.4 seems to be around about the sort of June, July area. And it's sort of south of Japan, north of Indonesia and everything like that. In that section there, sort of east of Vietnam and Thailand and what have you. Seems quite, for June, July, that seems to be quite an important sort of event as well. I think we're going to get a lot more hurricanes and so forth hitting Europe. I've been saying this for some time, and it certainly has increased. There is no doubt about it, slowly. But I think it's going to become Europe will be hit by some 2 or 3 very big storms. 2 or 3 very big storms. Could be looking at the early part of April. And then later on in the autumn period, sort of October, November as well, in that period there. But it is this changing, the pole shift that's coming through more than anything else. Okay. Yeah. Let's just do an astroflower reading. So let's just bring up the astroflower. So I think we've covered quite a few points here. Obviously we've got that live on Sunday if you want to be part of it, if you want to ask questions, because there's so much to cover. But it is a logical emotional progression. Logical emotional LEP. It's a LEP. Okay, it's a LEP year. It's a logical emotional progression. So here we got the astroflower here. So we got the general energy, and this is for the general energy for the collective, and then we got the emotional or the social side of the collective, and then we got the financial or material side. This could be tying into technology or nature and geological events and stuff like that. And what we'll do is we'll do sort of like winter periods for the northern hemisphere or the summer period for the southern hemisphere. So we go from the sort of like the 21st of December right through every sort of season, as it were, every sort of solstice and equinox and so forth. Let's just put a few cards on that and let's see what we get. Let's see what we're going on the general energy. It seems like we're taking control over our own harmony and balance, where our intuition plays a very important role to connecting to ideas or people or so forth. And it's our personal engagement according to our personal emotions that allow us to do that. And yeah, we get the Lovers card on there. I do think there was a big coming together here. And it's not like, okay, we all come together in one place. We all come together with an unseen, unwritten understanding. That's what I'm getting off it. You get the devil there as well. The devil is in the detail. I get that. I think it's also exposing, the coming together, I do think is exposing basically, and I think this is on the social side more than anything else. And this is not individual, so we're not talking about one-to-one relationships here. This is a collective reading. So I think it's what it's doing is it's bringing to the fore, when you're looking at something and you've got a certain understanding, after a while you just look at something and you kind of go, what is this person on about? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's complete and utter illusion. And I think, this is like, I think this is what's going to be playing out across the board. And as I said, in politics, within big business, within social, within religion, within spirit, within energy, within everything. And I think this is where we're exposing, the devil is there. He plays a very important role to give you opportunities to get lost in temptations. Get lost in your in dead end roads. That's what the devil's there to do, because it allows the situations or the people or the things, the way that actually really do work, free roam of the pathway of going on. And I think this is what we're going to totally understand as well, more than anything else. Let's just see what's going on the karmic paths here. See what's going on the financial side. Financial side, this is really weird. This comes into, it's going to be very intuitive. So short gains, but big gains. So, and they come in spits and spurts. This is what it seems to be. It's like, we talk about like the tech bubble or the housing bubble within the economy and stuff like that. And it seems like there's loads of bubbles that are going bub, 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 bub. And you're getting smaller amount of people trapped within that bubble that are making money out of it, and when it bursts, it bursts. Everything's everything's a pyramid scheme in the economy. Let's be honest. When the bubble bursts, it bursts. The whole pyramid scheme gets fallen on the backside. And I think that's what it's our karmic path is, to get through that. Yeah. There is a lot of things that are dead, done and dusted with. That we're no longer sort of participating in erroneous systems that I think we're all, with technology and so forth, I think we're starting to see through a lot of things in the world and that's in every aspect. When Bob Marley said, "I'm here to fight wickedness in high and low places," he didn't just mean like in politics or in in business. He's also talking about here and now in our everyday lives with everyday people and so forth. And I think this is where the truths that have been coming out in 2025, we're going to see things that just like you're being conned. You're being conned, and it's. I think the invention of AI video, because AI video is going to be so nice and so lovely, and it's going to kind of going, and I think it's going to make the people who are genuine shine, and that's going to put, people's ideas and, the way we do business or whatever, it's going to put that up in the light of the sun, and we're going to see what works. And I think there's a lot of things that we're getting over with. So let's just see what's going on in the first month of that. In the winter or the summer period of the southern hemisphere, we get the Ace of Wands. Obviously, I think it's going to be a very dynamic year because, as I said, I think things are going to explode forward in moments and then have moments of nothingness where confusion will reign. And that's possibly where we get the devil comes to the surface, as it were. And this, just trying to find, where's my other pack, actually? I had it here somewhere. My other pack of cards. Oh, we're going to stick with this pack of cards. I think we're going to get a lot of those moments of hugely inspirational moments for everybody in the first 3 months here, according to business and so forth. There's going to be this is where we're going to see the AI bubble come to the surface and kind of go, wow, look at that. Oh, it's gone. Oh, it's gone. Sort of thing. Okay. I think it is going to produce happiness after difficulty. I do think there's it's coming to terms with it. It may well be the difficult part in the first 3 months, and we're coming to terms with something. And I do think it's going to dispel a lot of erroneous things in life, and that's on every level. Okay, let's just see what's going on between the 21st of March and the 21st of June. So let's just see what's going on in that period there. Yeah, you're right. I just want to do what I feel it. We're going to have to deal with a lot of frightened people that don't understand. And there seems to be a lot of kind of going, it's all right, don't worry, relax. It's okay, don't worry, relax. Sort of going on. It's a real sort of moment of kind of going, oh, rabbit in the headlights sort of scenario. We get the Queen of Swords. I think people will be taking their own direction, following their own judgment. And this is the logical, emotional progression. Because the Queen of Swords has got a control over her emotions. She knows where she's going because she's following it, or not following it. She is creating it, and I think this is what we're doing here. And I think within that first void, I think we'll see a lot of people creating a new reality, basically. And look at that, you get the Emperor card there as well. I think it is going to empower us enormously. And as I said, like, when you get other people around you that don't understand, you're kind of going, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. You know, no worries. Look, I'm going down this road. That's the Queen of Swords. And this is how you're explaining it to someone. I'm going down this road. This is what I'm following in my life. And, you know, because you've got a defined direction that you're taking, you're going to have a sense of power. People are going to look at you and kind of sort of say, they know what they're doing. I want to follow that. They have the power. And that's where the Emperor card comes out. And once you have that sort of notion of where you're going, and I think it's in those 3 months there, it's really important to engage in that notion of, I know what I want out of life, within my life as an individual. And I don't want a Ferrari. You know, I think I want to be pretty much like most people, you know, have a nice, fulfilling life that's, you know, I don't want for anything. I don't need for anything. That's what it's better. I want loads, but I don't need for anything. That's what it is. And I think this is where this becomes incredibly obvious in that first moment of the void, as it were. Let's just see what's going on between the 21st of June and the 21st of September. Okay, this is where things start gelling together. This is where those nodes of reality where things work, they start connecting, a bit like neurons. You know, and you know, that's a possibility. The big, you know, that quantum mechanics as well gets completely blown out of the water, or reconfigurated. That's what I think it is. It's a reconfigurated year. That's what's coming up. That's what's coming up. It's the reconfiguration of the illogical emotion, or the emotional logic. A rel. You tell me what you think the year's going to be called. Okay, I had down the year of truth last year. Okay, so I think within that, in between June and September, I think there's a real building of bridges between common sense groups. That's what it seems to be. You get the Five of Wands. Now, Five of Wands is a moment of transition. Yeah, you can say it's conflict. Or could you? Let's just say this person here, right? This person here is the real collective. And that's the old reality where they get the Four Wands, where they're fighting, there's confusion, everything like that. But there's one wand here. This one person here is kind of found their wand. They're kind of go, ah, this is it. This is it. I know what I got. Got to follow that wand. And I think those people there are going to become, and that transition is about connecting with other people. And I think, you know, we're leaving behind that confusion and heading towards that. Over that 3 month period there, we need to go through and recognize the part that is confusing, or the part that is, you know, erroneous, in order to recognize the bit that we kind of say, oh yeah, that's clear, that's good, you know, or that makes sense, that's common sense, that is. And that's across all fields. And once we do that, yeah, we can walk to utter abundance. Let's just see what's going on in the 21st of September to the 21st of December. These connections that people are making across the globe is giving a new direction, collective, I would say, more than individual. You know, people are going to still keep doing what they're doing, but I think it's giving us a new direction that we're going into. Yeah, a whole new world. Yeah, I think this is it. We get a new definition by the end of the year, between September and December. We get this whole new sort of redefining of the world. And it's completely new. And it doesn't change what we got. We've still got cars and stuff like that. You know, but it's changes of how we, you know, we look at cars. You know how much importance we give them to our, you know, in our lives, how much importance we give it to in our lives. It's a lot of those sort of things. There's a whole new reality going on. And you get the Five of Cups. Yeah, it's the Five of Cups is very much like that. It's definitely we're into that full moment of transition over that 6 month period. Those Three of Cups there, they've been wasted. They're done. They've seen their good times. It has been good times. We've celebrated loads as a human collective. We've really enjoyed it, but that wine has gone now. But then, you just look behind you, and it's like having your cake, eating it all, and then turning away, turning back, and going, "Oh no, the cake is back." So, you've got these two cups that are just behind us. And I think this is what, a lot of people will be waking up to it late in the game, and they're going to feel like they've missed the boat. Excuse me. And I think that's a point there that anybody who's got on the boat have got to, also at the same time sort of saying, don't worry, just start doing. Your boat will be created as you need it, the moment you need it. And, there'll be a lot of people looking back kind of going, oh no, we've lost all our power and control, and sort of saying, don't worry, come plant some potatoes with me. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. Come plant potatoes with me, you'll love it. Yeah, I know you used to be the Chancellor of the Exchequer or the Minister of Interior or the Foreign Minister. It's fine, don't worry about it. Come plant some potatoes. You'll be fine. And they'll find their moment. They'll find their way again. And you've got to trust in the common sense. And that's all on the physical world. Let's just see what's going on the social sort of side. Let's see what's going on the karmic path there on the social sort of side. This is very scatty. I think what's happening is these nodes of reality where things work. So you have a node of reality in love. You have a node of reality in courage, in determination. You have another ones in sympathy. There's lots of little nodes that are scattered. And how do we bring them together? And I think it's in our karmic path to bring our emotions under control. And under control doesn't mean you don't show your emotions. That's not what I mean. When I say have your emotions under control, it means like when you're happy, be full on happy. When you're upset, be full on upset. But don't hold on to it. Let it out and let it go. There's a song in there somewhere, isn't it? Let it out and let it go. Anyway, yeah, look, there is big messages. This is what I'm saying. Like, there's these 8 of Wands. There's these nodes of reality that are around us that are coming together, and it's coming together very, very quickly. There's a lot of communication, and it gives us a focal point, and it's our karmic path to go through that. And look at that. We're getting justice in there as well. I had to pull another card to see what that 8 of Wands was all about. The justice. I think we're getting balance. We're bringing balance back into the system by moving very quickly and recognizing what things that are being presented to us that are erroneous. And this could be through the health system. This could be through social networking. This could be through socializing locally, wherever you are. But whatever it is, it's bringing it all back into balance, as I was saying earlier on, with all these nodes, getting them all together. Let's just see what's going on between the 21st of December and the 21st of March. I don't think we've finished with the truths. I think we're really getting down to the nitty gritty. That's what it's going on. We got the Knight of Wands. There is a passionate journey that we need to embark upon, and it's like healing with fire. It's like when you've got a big forest fire, you burn a bit of land around that forest fire and then put it out so the fire can't go anywhere else. And you sacrifice a bit of forest to save the rest of the forest. And I think this is what we're doing here. And I think we're getting infused in the idea of of truth and clarity within the whole sort of thing. Yeah, and I do think we're putting ourselves first here. I think the understanding and the common senseness comes from us as collective, as individuals, and it influences the collective enormously, enormously. And it's the initiation, and that's why we got the Ace of Wands over there. I think it's really going hand in hand with the Knight of Wands on this side here. Let's just see what's going on between March and June. Okay, this is where the truths or the common sense. This is where the common sense then starts influencing our intuition in regards to our connections with energy, with each other, spirituality, all of those sort of things. Our intuition, where, if it smells like BS, it probably is BS. Do you know what I mean? Sort of scenario comes out. And we're driving this, but it's a very intuitive 3-month period. We get the Nine of Pentacles here. The Nine of Pentacles, we got on one side Six of Pentacles and the other side Three of Pentacles. It's coming on from that Six of Pentacles in the 3 months before that. And the Six of Pentacles is about sort of like making sure you're in a good place so everybody else can be in a good place. That's the way it works. It's not a case of just accumulating and setting on wealth. It's pointless. Just spread that wealth around by spending it or investing it in good things. That's what people should be doing. In theory, it's like a tax, but without being taxed. It's taxed upon our moral and common sense, way of doing things. And I think this is what we're understanding, and we're getting that. And there's a lot of respect about putting yourself first here and having that understanding, or if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck sort of scenario here. And the Nine of Pentacles. There's got a lot of communication as well. There's a lot of depth and wealth in all of this. There's a lot of growth, and it's very natural in the Nine of Pentacles. A real sort of like understanding that needs to be communicated between everybody. And yes, it's an understanding. Yet the Two of Pentacles as well. There seems to be an understanding of what works and what is true and logical. And I think this logic then plays into the intuition. And we start intuitively doing things in a completely different way. Which, is going to sort the chaff from the wheat for across the board in everything. And we're going to see that also within relationships between males and females or whoever, between couples. We're going to understand that this intuitiveness will, with common sense, will allow you to be much more emotionally engaged in a relationship because you completely trust the other person. Or there's a trust between you and the other person because you're both driving to common sense. And when common sense rules, at that point there, you will feel secure. And within that freedom, I feel that there's a great deal of unity that's coming out of all of this. Great deal of unity. Let's just see what's going on between June and September. We're coming to this balance, this justice side. I think the Eight of Wands is for the first sort of 6 months here. And the justice side here, there seems to be, with this intuitiveness, brings balance and harmony back into the system. So we tend to argue a lot less. And this is where I think the wars will come in, we'll have less wars. I think people are being a lot more sort of relaxed with being disagreeing with someone, which is fine. It's not a problem. It's just that it just needs to be held within the common sense ideas of things, and things need to be explored. But there seems to be a balancing act that's coming in there, and that could be that void, that second void that sort of comes through. Yeah, you get the Nine of Wands. As I said, it's Nine of Wands. This is what I say about the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands is built out of Eight of Wands. So it's got the Eight of Wands behind it. And it's basically, that's what's on the karmic path. We got the Eight of Wands. So knowing this understanding, knowing this communication, and in the first 3 months, heading off on this mission, this is now creating within society, within emotional side of life, healthy boundaries that you don't have to protect yourself in life if you've got healthy boundaries. And if everybody's got healthy boundaries, then therefore you having healthy boundaries also helps other people to have their healthy boundaries. So, it becomes a thing that you do not just for yourself, but for the collective as well. And that's where it all sort of comes together. And we get the King of Swords. This is judgment. The King of Swords is all about judgment. It's a clear judgment. And it gives us a clear vision. This is where the new world is coming through here. It gives us a clear vision. And those healthy boundaries is because we're not going back to the old way of being, of connecting with one another. And, and socializing, emotionally being engaged in our relationships. It's built upon common sense, and it gives us a clarity of judgment, which allows us to see a lot further down the line. Let's see what's going on between September. Here we come back to. Okay, so everything is on. Everything's working all on the karmic path. Everything, as I said, there was nodes of reality within the emotions of life. And those seem to be coming together. And here, they seem to be everyone seems to be singing, joyfully resonating their energy in a way of, it's like people are singing the same song across the world without knowing that the other people are singing the same song. You don't need to know that everybody's singing at the same time. It's like world meditation on the same time. It's like, it's kind of going, yeah, well, that's 4 o'clock in the morning for me. And kind of go, well, let's do it over the day. Well, I tell you what, let's just meditate every day. Stop messing about. We don't have to do a special day for it. Just meditate every day. You know what I mean? We start resonating what you want to be living. And I think this is we're getting over ourselves here. You get the Temperance card. The Temperance card here is umming and ahhing. So she's got 1 foot on the land and 1 foot in the water. And there is that pathway that is behind her there that leads her to the sun, to the joy and the happiness in life, and to shining. And that umming and ahhing, that toing and froing between the 2 cups of that pure emotion of water, and that's that filament energy towards the sun. There may be there's a rise in emotional unity, because the filament energy connects on the sun. Filament energy connects the sunspots with the corona holes in both ways, and then the corona holes connects to the sunspots in the other way, through the center of the earth, through the center of the sun. But it connects the two, and that's what that stream of water is all about, because filament energy is really emotional, and it's a pathway to understanding. There's a big, because we've understood how to do it in our general lives, in everyday life, on our, connect with everything, all, with each other, and emotionally connect with everything. It seems like here is like our patience will be, we will be receiving the rewards, as it were. And all of a sudden that we can get an emotional engagement with consciousness or the world, so with trees, with animals, with everything that is around us. This is what it seems to be building towards. And you get the Page of Pentacles. Page of Pentacles is about a mid-term sort of cycle. So I think by the end of the year, we're going to get certain cycles that may have exploded on the scene, and there's some cycles that explode and then just like a shooting star just whoosh, goes. And there's other things that come onto the scene that actually stays, and then we can then build it again from there. And I think this is what the Page of Pentacles is doing. We're going from short cycle emotional sort of situations, so it could be short relationships and so forth, into relationships that are much longer and much more fulfilling. And we're planting a seed of a whole new reality that is coming through. And in connection between one another in an emotional sort of sense. Yeah, we're getting rid of that. We're getting rid of the insecurity, the repetitiveness. There's a massive realization that's going on within the system, and when we do, that realization is very philosophical, metaphysical, you know, also, you know, energetical, and it brings harmony back to the system with these two, the yin and the yang. So I was talking about that in the messages from energy this week. The messages from energy this week that just went past, if you saw it, which would have been the end of November, we were seeing both sides of the story, both sides of the yin and yang. And because we're seeing both sides of the yin and yang, you know, all of a sudden we can actually become dimensional beings. We've been playing at being a dimensional, you know, people say I'm a multi-dimensional being, and yeah, but we've been only playing with it. Now we're doing it for real. So if we're doing it for real, you've got to take responsibility for the outcome. So don't start manifesting things if you're not prepared to take the responsibility of the outcome, because half the time it probably won't manifest itself because you're not ready to take responsibility for the outcome of your actions. And this is where the collective, or kind of the common sense, will push manifestations through, that for people who are willing to take responsibility for their manifestations. So there you go, collective. There's loads more. There's loads going on. I think 2026 is going to be a real humdinger of a year. Shall we call it the humdinger year? Yeah, I think it's going to be an amazing year. You know, I think 2025, if you think 2025 was strange, forget it. That's going to seem like child's play when we come down to 2026. But anyway, we will be talking about it on the live. If you've got any sort of questions and everything like that, it'd be lovely to see. Thanking you very much for subscribing and liking and sharing. It's beautiful to see, and it's great to see your comments. I will see you soon, maybe on for your signs yearly reading or your weekly reading, or over on Cymatic TV. And watch out for a new channel that's coming out in December. Okay, I will speak to you soon. In the meantime, don't forget, life should be fun. So please do enjoy.